On episode 94 of the show, I reviewed the Laphroaig 10-year-old cask strength single malt Scotch whisky. And honestly, it's one of the bottles I always have on my shelf. It's hard, it's punchy, it's a serious, strong dram. In my travels, however, I have tried other Laphroaigs at some whisky clubs and the occasional night out. Not as many these days, but hey. I've tried one or two other Laphroaigs, and I really enjoy their strongly peated umami flavours, which got me thinking, surely it's about time I actually reviewed some other Laphroaig offerings? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's time, it's due, it's overdue. And today then, I am going to kick off an entire month of nothing but peat, starting with Laphroaig. And I'm going to start with this sample that I've got right here. The Laphroaig Oak Select Islay Single Malt Scotch Whisky. Alright. Welcome to Whisky. I'm John Chidgey. Please remember to drink responsibly, only ever in moderation, and where and when it is appropriate to do so. If you are watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, please take a moment now to like and subscribe and visit engineer.network/whisky without the E to learn how you can support the show. Thank you. Whilst the bottle's name is officially the Oak Select Islay, most people and some marketing materials I came across just call it the Select. It's intended to be Laphroaig's gateway drug into their range of peated whiskies. In fact, Laphroaig described the Select as being the perfect introduction to peated whiskey. But many whiskey nerds and reviewers online don't really agree with that sentiment. Part of the reason I think that they say that is because it's bottled on the floor at 40%, like the 10-year is. I'll get to that reviewing shortly, but it's an interesting blend of different flavours as well. On their website, they say that this is a blend of whiskies aged in ex-Oloroso sherry butts, ex-Pedro Jimenez hogsheads, and ex-bourbon casks, and then that is vatted and finished in new American oak barrels, which is a bit unusual for a Scotch. A bourbon, sure, but a Scotch, not so much. In the end, though, I'll try it for myself, I guess, but it was first introduced in May of 2014, so it's been in the lineup for a decade-ish? So my guess is they must be doing something right. Well, a full-size bottle of this stuff is going to cost you $112 Australian for 700ml bottle from Liquorland, and it's regularly on special for less than that, sometimes under $100. At the time of researching this, it was reduced to only $75 actually. That's a pretty damn good deal right there. Well, assuming it tastes all right. Anyway, we judge it based on its recommended retail price, as always. It has no age statement, it has a 40% ABV, which as I said is on the floor, and it's both chill filtered and it's coloured. It's considered to be their entry level into their core range of whiskies. Now on the website, they have the following to say about their Select offering. Our most approachable whiskey, a blend of single malts hand-selected from 5 different casks, creating a mellow Scotch with balanced and complex flavour. Our most laid-back expression lets our signature flavours of medicinal peat smoke and seaweed shine, leaving plenty of room for notes of red fruit, lime, and a floral finish. Seems okay to me so far. Okay, tasting notes on their website are as follows. The colour, sparkling gold appearance with layered tones. Okay. Layered tones of what? Okay. On the nose, forward peat smoke, followed quickly by ripe red fruits. On the palate, sweet at first, followed by peat smoke and dashes of ash and seaweed. And on the finish, a long finish with lingering floral notes, touches of marzipan and lime. Okay, sounds potentially interesting. Let's see what we get, shall we? So I would say that's sort of a, I don't know, like a old gold sort of a colour. And those legs, we've got some thicker legs running around the back, starting to break away all around now. Those ones are slow to break away, but it actually looks kind of oily. That's potentially a pretty good sign. Let's see what we get in the nose. Well, that is definitely Laphroaig, and that is definitely peat. The first few smells of a Laphroaig, it just that medicinal peatiness is signature. It is. I've come to really enjoy it. But anyway, okay. So I'm also getting, say, a little bit of red apple on that. Maybe pears actually. Smells a little bit like caramel, a little bit of vanilla in that as well. It's not a strong punch in the nose. You know, like the cask strength, the 10-year cask strength, that is intense. This is a lot more gentle, like quite gentle, actually. All right, it's time to try this baby. Let's see what we get. Whew. All right, so the mouthfeel on that, it is a little oily, but it's also a little bit thin. You can't really chew on it. Having said that, one of the things that I find, and maybe this is just a Laphroaig thing, maybe it's a stronger peated whiskey thing, I'm not sure, but when I swallow, I immediately get a burst of that strong peat sensation. It is, you gotta be ready for it, because it's a little bit unexpected almost. Now for the palate, there's a definite ashiness to it, for sure. A little bit of a caramel, maybe a little bit of toffee on there. Kind of, it sort of gets overridden a little bit by that more of the umaminess that you get generally from Laphroaigs. The finish is actually a bit longer than I thought. I'm kind of surprised, but then again, I'm also finding, I believe at this point, that it's fair to say that stronger flavour whiskies will just stick around a little bit longer. It's not all about age, it's not all about, I don't know. In any case, this one does stick around for us. It's definitely a moderate finish. I'd say there's definitely a little bit of lemon in that, actually. A bit of a citrusy lemon sort of a thing. They reckon lime. Maybe it is lime. And I'm going to stick with lemon. Sticking with my first answer. Let's see what we get in the second nosing. It's actually quite bright. You know, it's quite a lively Laphroaig in terms of like the freshness on it. It's almost a little bit floral. And the peat, of course, you know, starting to sort of like subdue a little bit now. But honestly, that's After you swallow and you take that breath in, it's almost like you get a reverse kind of a wave out of the back of your tongue, and it kind of comes out with with an extra rolling of that peat. I don't know. There's something about peated whiskies. I really am so glad I got my head around them. It's definitely a savoury whiskey though. Like, you know, most peated whiskies are savoury, but there's a few others we're going to be trying that may not be. So we'll get to those, I guess, in later on. But something else on the palate. I'm just not quite. Yeah, I do think there's some apple on that actually. It smells and tastes a little bit like red apple as well. It's only very subtle though. But anyway, look, I got to say that's goodness. All right, let's rate this. So for cost, it's a 2. It's affordable for good whiskey. What about the quality though? First of all, it's perfectly pleasant. It's perfectly nice. It's not really making me smile all that much. I mean, it's kind of nice, but it's kind of like, I mean, as an entry-level peated single malt, it's pretty damn good. I mean, I've got to give credit where credit's due. Having said that, it's not blowing me away. It's not really melting my brain. It's not really making me giggle or anything. But it also feels almost a little bit criminal just to give it a 2. Because honestly, it is a nice drink for some occasional variety. But is it a crime? I mean, really, it's not making me smile all that much. It's nice. Alright, you know what? I'm going to give this a 2. I'm going to give this a high 2. I sort of feel like I can see why some online whiskey nerds rate it the way they do. I think perhaps it's more of an issue with, like, you don't expect something like a cask strength out of a 40%. If you're used to cask strength, you go to 40%. You can't criticize it just because it's 40% on the floor. It stands up on its own 2 feet. It is a decent enough whiskey. So anyway, for a cost of 2 and a quality of 2, that makes this a yellow. You know, so a few bottles in this category for something different. And honestly, if I grabbed a bottle of this on special, I mean, I might even consider doing that, because sometimes you just want a bit of peat and you don't want to have your head blown off. So this would fit the bill just nicely. And with that, I think we'll leave it there. Plenty more Laphroaigs to come, and some others as well. Cheers. I'll see you next time. That's pretty respectable, really, for what it is. Don't mind it at all.